He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. I know as you watched Hurricane Laura sort of bear down on western Louisiana and that little area of Texas, man, I know your thoughts and prayers have to be with them. I got a note from Jamie Bates, who is a professional photographer, someone who's been really involved in the community. They have a relief effort. You probably have seen it before through the Giving Back Foundation. They do barbecuing and provide food to first responders and others in a relief effort. They go to disasters all over the country. And they're going to be headed to the Lake Charles area. And they have an 18-wheeler that's been provided by the Clark family of Rocking Sea Truck Lines and Gulf Coast Furniture and Business Supply, helping with supplies. There's just a lot of people going that are lending their hand. If you want to help, you can you can use a credit card, but then 3% has to be given back. They lose that 3%. So cash or check. Here's a number that you can call to get more information: 228-295-0619. 228-295-0619. And remember, it's a relief effort for our friends in Louisiana and Texas as they cope with this unbelievable disaster that they're going to be dealing with. So that's the Giving Back Foundation. Anyway, we're going to turn now to our friend, Dr. Nicholas Conger. Dr. Conger, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Ricky. Thanks. How are you?
It's good to have you back. I've been really looking forward to you. We were going to have you earlier in the week, and I know the hospital has its emergency plans, and you have to juggle patients around, and you've been busy anyway, just in your normal environment. So we're glad that you came back so quickly to come back to us, because CDC has offered some new guidelines as it relates to testing. I want to get an update on the numbers and what your latest experience is. So let's just kind of start with generally, how are things going?
So I think generally things are much more positive than they were last time we talked. So last time we talked, we were at the kind of right at the peak of what I would call the kind of the summertime Sunbelt surge. When we saw really high rates in Texas, Florida, California, Arizona, and here as well. And since then, it peaked around mid-July and it started to go down, which is good news. And I really think it started to go down kind of on its own, even before we really got that official mask mandate where we really went hard on the masks. And I'm sure that helped as well. But overall, the numbers are declining in those all those areas, Florida, Texas, especially, and even here in Mississippi, we've been declining quite a bit. Now, maybe a slight bump in the last few days, but you got to be careful. You kind of need to use 7-day averages. So with the opening of schools, I know people are nervous there. That we might see a slight bump. But so far, it looks like we're on the tail end of this hump that everyone seems to need to go through, kind of regardless of how strict the shutdowns are and the mask policies and all that. It seems like every region kind of needs to go through this wave and then get through that first wave. And I'm glad it seems to be, hopefully, knock on wood, behind us. But, we'll see what the future holds.
Well, you said from the very beginning, and you've sort of stayed to that theme, that initially we never really had the first wave.
That's right.
You talked about a second wave could come, but you were quick to point out we really haven't had the first wave. Well, now we actually have had a first wave, so to speak. And so you're not surprised at all that we found ourselves in this moment. And hopefully we can keep moving in the right direction. But then we do have to now think about the second wave and what that could create.
That's right. And I wanted to immediately qualify what I said with that doesn't mean it's over. It just means that the cases are slowing down. We said the hospitalizations follow the peak, and certainly we had peak hospitalizations a couple of weeks ago. We had up to 30 people in the hospital, and we were really rearranging things around and stuff. I would not use the word overwhelmed. We were never overwhelmed. We were able to handle it, and now we're starting to see the hospitalization slow down. And now I expect to see the death toll rise a little bit. Some of these patients who've been ill for several weeks that just aren't going to make it, unfortunately. they will add to the death toll. So you see that. You see the peak number of cases, and then you see the peak hospitalization a couple of weeks later, and then you see a little bit of a peak of deaths after that. And as long as we continue on this downtrend and we get flat again, hopefully that we can maintain it. Because I've been saying for several weeks or months now, I think we're going to have to learn to kind of live with this virus at low levels going forward until something changes. Like you said, either reach herd immunity, or we have a vaccine, or it kind of attenuates and becomes part of the normal cold and flu season cycle.
So you're an infectious disease internist at Memorial, and actually had Kent Nico on last week, and he had just had a conversation with Dr. Dobbs and some other hospital and medical center CEOs from across the state. And I think when you hear that once flu season starts back up again, if we even have a minor second wave, we could have some trouble. So I think it's really important for people just to be reminded that the basic tools we know about to fight this disease, they haven't changed a bit since we started this journey. But why don't you remind people why that's important?
Well, again, a virus that we believe potentially everyone is not immune to until they've had it. Now, there might be some data coming out showing that certain people may have some innate immunity from other coronavirus infections, and that would be good news. And then again, mortality rate, which is skewed towards the elderly, that is clear. But boy, this is really, half the deaths are in nursing home patients. But those numbers do add up, because if you multiply a really low mortality rate by a large number, you're going to end up with a large number of deaths. And you bring up a good point with cold and flu season. I'm actually interested to see what happens with the social distancing and with the mask wearing and with all these measures people have in place for coronavirus, what impact that has on the cold and flu season. Maybe it'll be mild to begin with because of all these measures that we're doing, but that's yet to be seen.
What is I had a really interesting conversation with Senator Joel Carter, who had coronavirus, and also with Representative Manley Barton. We'll talk specifically about them in the second segment. Really interesting and important advice they give, and I think you'll confer with that as well. But so, what is a day in the life of Dr. Nicholas Conger look like these days?
Well, we have a pretty busy service. There's two of us. My colleague, Dr. Penico, is an outstanding colleague, and we work together, and we kind of take turns with who's on at Memorial and who's on kind of covering the other hospitals and places we cover. But we always start in the morning rounding on the inpatients. And so we have our normal number of patients plus the 5 or 10 coronavirus patients. But 2 weeks ago, it was plus 30 coronavirus patients. And so it's been extremely busy. We start very early in the morning and we see all these patients in the hospital. Then we dial back and we start to see patients in the clinic, our normal outpatients that we're treating for other things. So it's definitely added to our workload. Spent a lot of time with task force meetings, talking about the right amount of testing, where to test. We've been trying to give advice to schools. We're trying to bring on an outpatient remdesivir trial. So we have a lot of fingers and lots of different fires. Just trying to, the pace is tough right now for us, but we're trying to maintain.
So what I'm curious about, though, you talked about, and I think it's one of the things we really urge people to not do, that if they need medical attention, forget about the coronavirus for a second, they just need medical attention. That the hospital is actually one of the safest places they can go. And you mentioned a patient that had an infection that led to some type of amputation, because if they would have just come to the hospital sooner or gotten in touch with you guys sooner, he might not have lost a limb or whatever the situation was. This is really still very important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we still run into this every day. We have patients that won't come in to see us in the clinic. And if we talk them into seeing us in the clinic, then they won't get a CAT scan, or they won't get an X-ray, or they don't want to go to the lab. And this idea that you can make something 100% safe. I mean, I don't know where this idea came from. Nothing in life is 100% safe, but certainly it's one of the most safe environments. We're all wearing masks. We're following the recommendations. If anyone is questionably ill, we're pulling them out. And so, I think that putting off routine healthcare is dangerous in and of itself. And especially, we see people coming in with pneumonias that would have gotten better with an antibiotic, simple oral antibiotic. When they come in, they need the ventilator because they waited so long. Why didn't you come in? Well, I didn't want to catch coronavirus. And I just want to reassure people that that can be really bad for your health. I don't want people putting off immunizations either. Routine immunizations are very important. We don't need a return of vaccine preventable diseases because people aren't immunized because they're scared of coronavirus. So
do you have the antibody?
I don't. I don't. And that's I mean, I haven't been tested in a couple of months.
But still.
That's a testament to our PPE. You know, when people ask me, why do you believe in masks or does PPE work? I wear a simple surgical mask 90% of the time at work, all day, every day. And it's frustrating, believe me. I hate wearing a mask. And I don't believe we need masks when we're outside going for a jog. I think I've made that clear. And I put on all the garb, you know, the respirators and the face shields and all that when I see patients who I know have it. But I've taken care of patients who we did not know have it and were surprised after the fact. And so far, so good.
So we'll come back to this on the other side of the break. But this virus is a mean virus. It's going to find the path of least resistance. If you have an opening, it's probably going to find it. So that's actually part of the conversation I had with Senator Carter and Representative Manley Barton. We'll talk about that when we come back to the other side. This is Dr. Nicholas Conger, an infectious disease doctor, and we're talking about the coronavirus.
Subscribe for free to the Coast View podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get out of the house and over to Big Play today. 2 massive arcades, bowling, go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, a 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena, bumper cars, and right now get a $50 game card for only $25. Visit our station's Facebook and print on demand so you can play at Big Play Entertainment Center now. These deals won't last long, so make sure you get your half-off deal. Big Play Entertainment Center, Highway 90 Biloxi. Bowl, play, eat. Go to our station's Facebook to get your half-off deal now.
What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors here, the show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to frequently touch surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse@telesouth.com. That's JESSE@telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Dr. Nicholas Conger here. He's an infectious disease internist at Memorial Hospital and a friend of the show. I mentioned before we went to the break that if you drop your guard, it's possible COVID will find the path of least resistance. And the conversations that I had with Manley Barton and with Senator Joel Carter sort of are a good testament to that. So Joel goes to the session where so many of the legislators, including the Speaker of the House and Lieutenant Governor, catch the virus. He comes home, he does not have it. So he's counting his lucky stars, he's wearing the PPE, and he's being very careful. In preparation for the next session, he goes up to dinner with some people that he's very familiar with. So it's Joel and 7 others. One person at the table had coronavirus. The 7 others caught it. And so Joel's back home, and he's at home. He's doing better now, but he was very close to ending up in the hospital. A difficult time breathing and all that goes with that. And his lesson was, don't drop your guard. And as you said this, others have said this, that people tend to do that. They drop their guard when they get home. They drop their guard when they're around friends. All it takes is one person in that group to be careless, and then suddenly everyone has it. Manley Barton said the same thing. He was wearing PPE he ends that first session pretty good. Then he goes back to another. He ends up with it. And the reason he believes he got it was that when he was in his office, he would take his mask off. When he was out in the hallway or in the chambers, he would tend to wear his mask. Now, his story's different because he ended up, on his belly. He didn't have to be endotracheal tube, but he had that mask that you've talked about on the show before. They sedated him heavily, and it was really touch and go for him. And he's been out for about a month. He's still on 100% oxygen. He's making improvements, but man, I mean, he almost didn't make it. And his pre-existing condition was bronchitis. And that's kind of the rest of that story. Thank God they're both going to be fine and they'll both recover. But you hear this over and over again, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And a corollary there is, we've had a few cases here with hospital employees that we thought might have caught it working with patients at work. But by and large, most of our hospital employees who catch it outside of work. And that scenario you talked about, people sitting around a table facing each other. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's when what you breathe out and what comes out when you speak is going to go forward towards other people. And it's really sad because I keep saying this, we're social creatures. I enjoy going out and having a drink or dinner with other people. And it's just natural to want to do that. And so I still encourage people, do things like that outside. It is hot. It's been hot, but get together outside socially and try not to just get face to face with people because that's how it's transmitted.
So one of the reasons our numbers have gone down is that people are, when I'm out and about, I see the mask, I see the signs on stores. People are paying attention. Just continue to do that. We got to learn to live with it, and we'll be able to continue to keep our economy going and all that. CDC has some new guidelines as it relates to testing. You've talked about this before, that the testing process was being overwhelmed. You were concerned about that. So what's your thoughts about the new guidelines?
Right. So the testing continues to be up and down. And now the CDC is saying you don't necessarily need to be tested if you are exposed without symptoms. I completely agree with that because remember, the virus can occur anywhere from 2 to up to 14 days after exposure. And so if I get tested, say I get exposed to somebody that's known positive and I don't feel any symptoms and I run and get tested, remember that swab's looking for active virus in my back of my throat. If that swab's negative, well, that's only good for that point in time, right? What if I develop symptoms 3 days later? Then that negative test means nothing. In fact, it was false reassurance I was negative when I wasn't going to get symptoms for another 3 or 4 days. So to me, it never made sense. It just led to extra tests that might give people a false sense of security. Better to quarantine anyway, because you're going to be quarantined for the 14 days post-exposure if you're following the guidelines, and then get yourself tested if you have symptoms. Now, having said that, a lot of these large testing centers that we send tests to have increased their capacity. And because that Sunbelt surge is going down, they are having less demand. So we're now sending labs to 4 or 5 different labs, and we're getting 24 to 48, 72-hour turnaround routinely. So the logjam is much better.
So in past shows, you've talked about how it's normal for a virus like this, a coronavirus, a novel coronavirus, to go through genetic changes to morph as time goes on. And you mentioned offline that there may be 2 strains, and there are studies around that. Talk about that for a second.
Right. I've said for the last few weeks now that I believe that there's kind of different strains out there just because the variety of presentations is so different. And I think, again, this is just from my experience with patients, but we had a large number of nursing home patients in this region test positive, and we did not have a huge surge in hospitalizations and deaths from those patients. And we had some, of course, but they seem to have a lot of mild illness. In fact, we get nursing home patients every day who look really ill and test positive for coronavirus, but we find out they had staph in their blood, and that's why they were sick, and they never even exhibit symptoms from coronavirus. While there seems to be another strain that we're seeing in some younger people that come in with extreme headaches now, that's kind of a new symptom. Several days of really bad headaches, and then they have severe pulmonary symptoms. Now, again, because they're young and usually healthy, that they get better, but it takes a few days, but a very different presentation. So I do think there's a milder strain out there, and I think there's a more aggressive strain. And I think they're kind of simultaneously out there in the community. And some new research is showing that the virus has had some subtle mutations for sure.
And either way, you can't pick the one that's coming your way. So you just have to mind your store and take care of yourself and stay safe, and especially take care of the vulnerable. I mean, that hasn't changed much. That hasn't changed at all, actually, from the beginning. So kids are back in school. You're seeing some reports of some colleges having big outbreaks and big concerns about it. You know, college sports is about to crank up in some cases, they're not. What's your latest thinking on schools?
So I think that more and more data that's coming out shows that children in school is not necessarily a bad thing. And so there's one study out of Korea that suggested that there's this explosion of cases when kids went back to school. We know when they went back, they found out that all the parents got it from going back to work, and they weren't getting it from the kids. So again, more and more studies come out that show younger kids, less than 12, they are not big transmitters to adults. In fact, the numbers, if you remember, were really low in Germany, and they actually attribute the numbers being low in Germany to maybe the kids were getting it in school and they weren't catching it, so their numbers were falsely low, but it went through the kids and they didn't send it to their grandparents and their parents. And so nothing's 100% safe too. You know, we talked about flattening the curve, and so I think if the schools have a good policy in place, if they're doing social distancing, I think the negative effects of not being in school are too great not to try, in-person school. Obviously, with the choice, if you're not comfortable, don't send your child. If you can alternately educate and you want to, that should be allowed. But certainly with social distancing, I'm a proponent for giving it a try. It's it's a population that does quite well with the virus still. And so I do think it's worth a try. And if it's done well, I mean, you can't just show up and crowd a classroom and everyone's going to get it, and then they could go out and spread it in the community. But certainly if we do it in stages, I think it's worth a shot.
I didn't prompt you that this was coming, but I have a question for you. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I'm just curious about it because I don't talk about politics on this show. We live in a polarized world right now. We just do. And it's an election year and all that. Does it drive you crazy when people politicize the coronavirus?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. If people are keeping their states shut down because, well, a side effect might be it hurts the economy and helps the election, that'd be a bad motivation. I'm not saying that's their motivation. If people are taking risks because they want to open up things because they want a different outcome of the election, that's not a good policy either. I hear rumors about the FDA slow rolling some drugs and vaccines because they do or don't like Trump. And I hope that's not true. I just hope that's not true because I couldn't with good conscience make decisions that impact large groups of people based on politics. And I really hope that's not happening. People say they want to stick with the science, and they should stick with the science.
You see the blame. Some want to blame Trump for the coronavirus. Some want to, I've heard all kinds of negative things about Como. At the end of the day, early on, there was so much we didn't know, and we did the best we could. I think that, the testing had issues in the beginning. who are you going to blame? This is a novel virus. It's something we've never seen before. And this thing had been injected into the United States for weeks.
Right.
There was no way to stop it, was there, Nick? I mean, it was going to explode.
Right. And again, that kind of gets into travel bans and all that. But an article just came out about this meeting where a bunch of people came over from Europe, from Italy, and they think, that seeded the country. And so I'm right there with you. And one final thought is it's kind of turning out that no matter how strictly you shut down or how loose you were, everyone's kind of going through this peak in this valley. And so, like you say, protecting the vulnerable and doing reasonable things, I think, is the answer. I still do.
Well, you sort of said that you had such a practical mindset from the very beginning. It's all kind of bearing out. People just need to continue to protect themselves and their family. We'll be back to you in a couple of weeks to check in. Dr. Nicholas Conger from Memorial. We really appreciate your friendship.
That was great. Thanks for having me back.
You bet, buddy. You bet.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1. The stay-at-home orders, the new state flag, the mask mandates, the protests and riots in many of our nation's cities, the battle for the White House. So far, 2020 has been a year like no other, and only one radio station has covered it all from a Mississippi point of view, SuperTalk Mississippi. And hang on, because who knows what 2020 will bring us next. Whatever it is, SuperTalk will be right here to deliver it to you live. Listen in all 82 counties statewide. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Be sure to go by this station's website and check out the half-off deals. Audubon Zoo tickets for just $15. That's half price. $30 zoo tickets for just $15. Again, go to this station's website or Facebook. Look for the half-off deals logo to purchase yours now.
Heart attacks and strokes don't stay home. So don't avoid the ER out of anxiety. Don't die of doubt. If you have an emergency, call 911. When seconds count, the hospital is the safest place to be.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and,
wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
There's a place to share gossip about the office party fun, and a place to share the story you tell everyone. There's a place to share a laugh about when things went wrong, and a place to share the video of you dancing to your song. There's a place to share spare change, lunch, and your time. But we could all be better at sharing how we're feeling inside. 76% of employees have struggled with at least one issue that affected their mental health. When you share, you're not alone.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
This is House Call for Health. There may be no greater medical mystery and no greater tragedy than sudden infant death syndrome. It used to be known as crib death. For no apparent reason, a presumably healthy sleeping baby dies. Medical experts don't have clear-cut answers to what causes sudden infant death, or SIDS, but now they have 2 risk factors: smoking and drinking during pregnancy beyond the first 3 months. A new study finds that babies whose mothers drank alcohol and smoked tobacco after after the first trimester are at far greater risk of SIDS, 12 times greater. Previous studies showed a risk of smoking and drinking individually. This study says doing both drastically increases the danger. The research is sponsored by the National Institutes of Health, which is calling for greater publicity about the danger and improved screening at the very beginning of a pregnancy. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to frequently touch surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Whether you're a Rebel, a Bulldog, a Golden Eagle, or just a sports fan, SuperTalk Mississippi has got a podcast for you. For you. Sports Talk Mississippi, the Rebel Report, Thunder and Lightning, the SuperTalk Eagle Hour, and the Borky Show are all now available for you. And it's all free. Get them all on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for SuperTalk on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I'm so happy to have my friend Bruce Kirkwood, Bruce the violinist, who's been with us before, back on Coast View. Bruce, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I can't wait to kind of get an update on where you've been. I described you the last time we were together as this perfect blend of metropolitan perspective and Southern charm. And the conversation touched a lot of people. That video from our last conversation was viewed thousands of times. You started playing violin when you were 5 years old. You're from Gulfport. You went to the Gulfport school system. You were in the strings program there. You went to the University of Southern Mississippi, did a lot of classical music. You got a degree in accounting. And but you've really grown to love just a wide genre of music, which, you know, not only are you inspirationally personally, but your music is beautiful and you touch so many people because of you enjoy so many different kinds of music: jazz, gospel, blues, pop, R&B, and soul. And you also write some of your own music. So you're a very popular guy. You've inspired people all across the country, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining me again. So what you been up to?
Oh, man. Well, of course, music and a lot of traveling and being safe as I do so. I think one of the latest and biggest things that's taking place is an Evening of Elegance, which is a concert that my team and I put on this past Friday in Gulfport, Mississippi, at one of our favorite venues, the Dock in Gulfport. And we had it was a huge success. We had people and supporters from all over the country to come in. And it was a great time. I was able to actually honor and recognize one of the people who are huge in my life, Daniel Martinez, who's the Gulfport School District Orchestra Director. So I actually presented the Daniel Martinez Legacy Award to him. He's played a huge role in my life. Honestly, Ricky, he's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing today. So it was a huge honor to be able to do that. It was a huge success, and we're looking to do it again sometime soon.
Well, you know, as you and I talked about the last time we were together, there are these people that enter our life that change the trajectory of our life. One was your brother, because he had a violin and he chose to, I think, play percussion instead of violin. And you ended up with the violin, and, you know, one thing led to another, and you've been sort of, you know, ahead of your time with that violin from the very beginning. But Martinez really made that big a difference in your life, huh?
Yes, tremendously, man. Tremendously.
So was the Elegance, the Evening of Elegance event, was it also something you could watch in social media at the same time?
Well, the first one we tried to make it a little bit more simple. We could have found a way to do that, but we didn't want too many factors involved, too many things to control. Presents too many opportunities for things to go wrong. So hopefully for the next one, we'll have some sort of private link or something that's available, because we do understand that everyone didn't feel comfortable traveling. Everyone couldn't attend. So hopefully for the next one, we'll have something set up for that.
So you were able to, mask and social distancing and all the things that go with that. Tell me about the event and how you kept people safe.
Well, we knew that was first and foremost. So we made sure at the door we had personalized travel and sanitizers for everyone who came in, a mask available, and personalized or customized masks for purchase if they wanted to get a little bit more fancy with it. We made sure the tables were in social distance from one another, 6 to a table, and that we were under the 50% occupancy as well. So we took care of everything we had to do to make people comfortable.
Wow. So what happens? So you gave that award out, but you played a lot of beautiful music. So what does an evening of elegance look like?
Well, it looks elegant. It looks like taking care of everyone who's there and treating them like royalty. The attire was summer chic, so some lightweight summer attire that's breathable yet a little bit fancy. We wanted people to have a good time, and when they took pictures, we wanted it to be something they were proud of. So we had merchandise that was autographed and available, photographers, videographers, a 4-course dinner that was really great as well. And of course, like I say, the award that we presented, we had a champagne reception at the beginning, after event social at the end. It was a really great night of a lot of festivities and really good time. I'm looking forward to the next one already. We're excited.
Well, you've really done a good job of not only sort of fostering your social presence through social media, but when we talked before, you talked about this, that you're doing that well, and you're getting innovative, and you're doing some traveling, and you're all those things. But man, did you really want to get back in a scenario where you could literally see people and see their reactions and be in the same room with them? For an artist, that's so important, isn't it?
Extremely important. It's extremely important. And it was actually a big pleasure of mine to be able to say that a lot of the people who were at this event, the majority of them were people who tune in every week to my music page, Tasteful Tunes Tuesday, on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. So they were actually able to come in after being virtually presented to the music every week, to come in and meet me, to meet one another. So they recognize a lot of names, a lot of faces from profile pictures. So yeah, like you said, to be able to go from only having hearts and emojis and comments to actually being able to see the expressions. I tell people all the time on the live stream, I say, continue to let the hearts float up, give me feedback, comment things, because as an artist, I don't have virtually the facial feedback. I don't have the expressions. And it was really refreshing to be able to have that this past Friday after so long.
Hey, what is your most requested song?
I definitely have to go with Purple Rain, which was the encore for the event as well.
Wow, Purple Rain. That's so interesting. I tell you what, we're gonna in just a second, we're gonna go out of this segment and let you play a little bit of that for me.
Okay, sounds good.
So, hey, what cities are you traveling to?
Well, Phoenix. Just left Phoenix not too long ago, in Vegas. Soon to be back in Phoenix. California upcoming as well. And of course, all the local places as well. And I'm being booked by a lot of different places inside and outside of the country. So that's really exciting. A lot of them are in 2021 because, of course, clients are not trying to continue to postpone events, don't want to cancel events. But as they come, I go. So,
so that's really awesome. So why don't we do this? We're going to come back on the other side and just continue the conversation. But why don't you move into Purple Rain and let's hear a little bit of music.
Sounds good.
This is Bruce Kirkwood, better known as Bruce the Violinist, a really inspirational young man and a great friend of the show. Go ahead, Bruce.
Purple Rain.
Subscribe for free to the Coast View podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get out of the house and over to Big Play today. 2 massive arcades, bowling, go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, a 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena, bumper cars, and right now get a $50 game card for only $25. Visit our station's Facebook and print on demand so you can play at Big Play Entertainment Center now. These deals won't last long, so make sure you get your half-off deal. Big Play Entertainment Center, Highway 90 Biloxi. Bowl, play, eat. Go to our station's Facebook to get your half-off deal now.
What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors. Here the show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to touch frequently touched surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse at telesouth.com. That's JESSE at telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. This is Bruce Kirkwood. Bruce the violinist, my young friend, somebody is my hero, my new musical idol. You play so many cool genres and you're so talented. It's awesome to hear not only your words are inspiring, but to hear your violin. Beautiful music. Thanks for sharing that Purple Rain with us. So let's talk about your social media presence, because I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and we also discussed this the last time we talked. You've really worked hard to really be innovative in social media. Tell me more about that.
Okay, well, my approach to expanding my social media and establishing my presence there has been heavily rooted in being authentic and creating and forming a relationship with my audience and with my supporters and followers. It's not about the numbers. The numbers grow in response to approaching it that way. But I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube as well. And I mentioned before that I do weekly Facebook Live performances called Tasteful Tunes Tuesday, and it's always a huge turnout. We have thousands of people who come through, and it's 6,000 comments every time. And it's a real blessing. People say that it inspires them, it brings them to tears, and they tune in every week. And it's a really blessing for me as well as for them. But I'm looking forward to the numbers continuing to grow, the more connections that we continue to make, and being a blessing to the world.
And they can find you by searching Bruce the Violinist?
They can find me by searching on YouTube, Bruce the Violinist, no spaces. On Instagram, Bruce_the_violinist. On Facebook, Bruce Kirkwood.
Awesome. Hey, real quick before I want to play one more song. What do you do? What's next for you in your life?
Well, next I'm looking to expand into doing full-on productions. That's not just me, but, combining all types of arts, visual arts, dancing, theater, and voice, and different things like that, to put on something that's much larger than myself, to be able to have something to present that is much more appreciated by people.
So, Bruce, is there another song that's your favorite? What's another song?
I really love songs surrounded by love. So this next one that I can do is Can't Help Falling in Love.
Okay, so we're gonna listen to that beautiful song, and I want to thank everyone for joining me on Coast View today. This is Bruce the Violinist. Why don't you close out the song with that beautiful song? Close out the show with that beautiful song.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. This has been Bruce Kirkwood. He's better known as Bruce the Violinist. He's going to continue to come on in this show on a regular basis. We'll have him back in 2 or 3 weeks just to inspire us with his music and his incredibly positive attitude toward life. So, Bruce, thank you for the inspiration.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining Coach View. Have a great day.